To have you here and to meet you and to give you a grilling I've been instructed to by Arseny. Having led the military intelligence here and now the President's office, and we're asking you about the theme of the conference, if there is light ahead. Why are you so convinced that Russia understands the war must end and that they will do so soon, which you keep saying, but so many people don't agree?
Цікаве питання ви мені задаєте.
You're asking me a very interesting question. You know, you can never be 100% convinced or sure in something in this situation, because we have our position, and there is position of Russian Federation. It exists. There are positions of leading world players, and all these positions should be coordinated somehow. Whether all the parties are prepared to make their steps, I think yes, but everyone tries to satisfy his maximalistic requests, and the problem is how to find a compromise between all those maximalistic requests. But this is only a part of the issue, and the issue is much deeper, not only in these terrible developments taking place here currently, but how to prevent the recurrent situation like this, how to prevent the repetition of such events, how to create a situation that this repetition would be absolutely unrealistic.
Is saying that these negotiations are not Russia's number one
От, будь ласка, не гайте ні мій, ні свій час на пана Сергія Лаврова.
Please don't waste your time and my time on Sergei Lavrov. If you analyze what he used to speak about before, there is nothing to speak about. He's changing his opinion every time. In different times, there is a different opinion.
Person to deal with in Russia, why are you confident, and who are you going to deal with there? Because that will bring an end to the war.
Дивіться, ви ж все ж таки хочете залізти туди, куди я явно...
You want to get somewhere where I definitely don't want to get in. We are trying to do our work, and I believe in it. This is all I can say. The negotiation process, in any case, will take place, and the more or less delicate aspects cannot be made public. And because I cannot make them public, I cannot answer your question, because in any case, it will be very short and brief and cut out answer.
The Americans, is Donald Trump still a strong ally?
Дивіться, ми вважаємо Сполучені...
We believe the United States is a strategic ally. I hope that they have the same vision of our position. This is my hope.
Your message to them, President Zelensky was very critical that Witkoff and Kushner, someone described to me as a peace franchise that travels around the world, has been to Moscow but hasn't been to Kyiv.
Як ви знаєте, ми чекаємо їх. Тут, в принципі, нічого не змінилося. Зрозуміло, всі...
We're waiting for them. Nothing has changed. Everybody sees the situation in terms of negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. And this sort of reflects certain problems and puts certain issues on the intensity of negotiations here, and we are waiting for them in Kyiv, and I hope that this visit will take place anyway.
In simple terms, do you think America has your back? President Zelensky has sometimes hinted that Ukraine might have to make a choice between a loss of dignity or a loss of a key partner.
Так. Ви знову ж йдете в ту саму...
Once again, you're moving in the same direction which we began with. Let's put it in a different way.
Прагнення до миру. Це
A wish to have peace. Is it good or not? What do you think?
We all think it would be a great thing, but if the Crimea, Luhansk and Donetsk
Не
are
поспішайте.
recognized as Russian and Kherson and Zaporizhia, you freeze the lines there, would you walk away from the talks? Is that a deal breaker?
Не поспішайте.
Don't hurry.
Прагнення до миру
The wish to have peace, it's a sense. It's a good sense. It's not demonstration of weakness. The conditions for peace may be very different. Nobody in Ukraine would agree with the loss of even an inch of our territory. This everybody understands, and that we hasn't come to the agreement. Everybody knows, but this is a process. It may reach its objective, may not reach its objective, and we must be prepared. We must be strong and ready for any developments. If we are strong enough, this will have a space for maneuver in the situation. But if we are too weak, something will, in any case, something will take place, but it may take different directions. So our main point is that we must be strong, and we must be strong in the future in order for this negotiation process to be successful. Nobody wants to deal with the weak ones, and no international law works here.
Moscow that we used to see stopped. Is that to placate the Americans?
Ні, це абсолютно не пов'язані речі, і, до речі, вони не зупинились.
This attacks has not stopped, and you must be quiet and calm, and you will see everything later on. I will continue, General. I will talk about the situation on the front line. I'm not asking you to speak about certain elements of, but make sort of like helicopter view concerning the situation which is called the war of drones, both flying and land drones. And there is a lot of information that Ukraine is winning the drone war. And I have a feeling that it's a sort of a propaganda to lullaby the partners and Ukrainians that everything is okay, you should not be worried. So my question is to you, how strong is our prevalence? For me, personally, recognition by the enemy is the highest level of recognition. Even if the enemy recognizes our prevalence, then that makes sense. Whether we are winning this war, this competition, we are definitely not losing. But if we stop or will move slower, there are risks. Remember 2022. In 2022, there were some makes of drones appeared from time to time. First of all, in Russian Federation. First, you remember there were Iranian ones, and then there were a couple of pieces per day, and we thought that was a terrible thing. Unfortunately for us, Russians have records now, and we have our records in terms of types and number of this equipment, but everything goes on without any breaks. If the technological breakthrough does not take place now, then the effectiveness of these machines will go down very rapidly. And even now, in order to hit a target, I cannot give you the sensible information, but a lot of drones are used to hit one specific goal. Everything is changing. They're increasing the electronic warfare systems. We do the same. The air defense systems are improving. Interceptor drones have emerged. So lots of things are happening. And a new must be a new breakthrough technologies related to artificial intelligence, technologies related to signals, operational systems. Where are you expecting the technological breakthrough to take place? Could this be technology which would put down all the drones besides those on the fiber optics? I would like to believe in this, but I know that this will not happen. But the AI assistance has already started making substantial impact on this process. I'm not going to tell you about all our examples. You also how Russian machines were used here. They're maneuvering themselves, they find targets and so on. But we must scale up our new technologies, but I think that within half a year we'll see the results of this. Now let's get to oil sanctions. This issue has already been raised in part. How would you evaluate the losses inflicted on the Russian Federation by drones in dollars, in barrels, and in the failed contracts? How important is this? The third point is much more important than the first two. Official data was voiced by the president. You all heard about these figures. But the point number three, not fulfilled contracts, it is much more interesting. Russia is losing its image because all sanctions one day will come to an end when the war comes to an end. But the image problem will persist for much longer time because there is a doubt about Russia as a reliable supplier who can supply its raw materials into the country in a timely manner.
Чорне море і через Балтійське. З цим є величезні проблеми.
Що є величезним плюсом, звісно, для всіх нормальних людей, так, не тільки.
Plus, but that's a major plus. Mr. Budanov, an important question related to oil sanctions. How often and in what format are partners or countries who are not partners of Ukraine are trying to somehow slow down the application of oil sanctions, such as hitting oil refineries, port infrastructure, until the crisis in the Amur Strait is over. Yesterday, from Scott Bessent, we learned that there are 10 countries who have approached American authorities. And now there seems to be some kind of bonus for oil trade. 10 countries can convince the U.S. administration to weaken sanctions for Russian oil. I wonder how many countries approach Ukrainian authorities with similar requests, or they don't. Well, I wouldn't give you the full list of countries. What about number? Look, I'll tell you something more interesting. I have encountered for the first time a similar request in 2023. This is not something new. This is systemic work which tends to intensify when we apply sanctions en masse. Now it also overlaps with the oil crisis triggered by events first in Venezuela and then in Iran. So there are no direct. How does Ukraine respond to this? Well, mutely. You have to understand that Mr. Budanov smiled as he was saying mutely. Well, Ukrainian ambassador, or Stefanishina, condemned weakening sanctions and urged not to continue the bonus after the 16th of May? What are the chances? What preconditions we need to get back to the original status quo and have the Russian oil banned again? It's geopolitics. There is no simple answer, because to answer your question properly, you really need to answer the question, what's going to happen at Hormuz Strait and other trade routes where crude oil is being traded. I believe in positive developments, but the major precondition is the end of the war here, because once that happens, that's over. Russian sanctions will be over. It stands to reason. So in a sense, even the Russian Federation will benefit from this, because with the when the war hostilities end, then the sanctions will end. So let's wait and see. Let's not make any assumptions, because a lot depends on the political factors that might or might not overlap. Let me ask you another question about red lines. President, do you want to get the same answer? Well, let me try. What if I succeed this time? Because Mark, after all, is a guest here, but we are both Ukrainians. Anyway, President Zelensky warned that we might be caught up in the Russian offensive and more pressure from the U.S. What proposal is being discussed now to give up Donbas land? Is this red line still a red line for the Ukrainian negotiation team? Let me say again, all real aspects, not problems, but sensitive issues, cannot be divulged, because otherwise, what's the point of negotiating? You can simply exchange messages on television, just like Lavrov does. Now, red line is quite simple, and I think everyone understands that. First of all, we will never renounce our territories. We will never recognize occupation. This will never happen. Don't even try to dream about this. Regarding Donbas, I'm sure we will find a solution which will be acceptable to us, because this is our land. We cannot trade with our land. Now, this is not something new, but we are currently in the state when, if we are weak, no one will talk to us. Our internal force is unity. Yes, we do need to work with our partners and allies and sympathizers, but our internal force is our unity, resilience, and ability to fight. If we are disconnected from within, if there is no unity, no matter how many tanks or weapons they throw at us, we will not survive. But if we're strong, if there is unity, we will prevail. And our common goal is for Ukraine to survive, to give it future. Therefore, we need to get united around the president of Ukraine. There is no other option. Everything else will simply a recipe for disaster. Last question, very briefly. I'm told we need to finish. Regarding the energy sector, you are forecasting that the next winter will be difficult, hard. In CEO Club meeting with Ukrainian businessmen, you urged everyone to build as much as possible. Now, what can partners do for us? How can they help? Because it's not only about humanitarian aspect, that the fact that Russia is destroying our energy sector. It's also about economy and infrastructure, many other aspects. Now, and who's responsible? Where's the input point for foreign partners who want to hear you and who want to help? Well, the input for energy, speaking of equipment, is Ministry of Energy. There's no doubt about that. If someone wants to help local communities, local authorities, again, you know the addresses. The Ministry of Rehabilitation are mostly taking measures to protect our energy infrastructure. Now, regarding the current situation, let me explain. You see, in fact, over the past years, during the war, our energy system has sustained major losses, major setbacks and destruction, and we have reached a stage where even if we end the war today, if you do nothing, we will still have major problems, because many facilities has basically ceased to be. They're ruined. They're in ruins. Therefore, we need to step up the work, do as much as we can before autumn. And of course, we are assuming that the fighting, the war hostilities will go on, but our deadline is autumn, because cold months begin in autumn, and if Russia continues to hit our energy infrastructure, again, we will have negative consequences. So we need to do as much as we can today to protect our facilities and to step up our generation facilities. The bad news is that losses are colossal. Damage has been done is tremendous, and so it's not going to be easy. We need to get ready, but we will overcome. Thank you. Thank you. Mark has a final question.
And we're very grateful for your time this morning. Thank you very much. Thank you.